So I just pressed the record button because I wanted your permission. But other people were like, I have a doctor's appointment, I have a therapy appointment, and they couldn't be here. And I said, well, because we're kind of all in the same boat, I'll ask, if it's okay with the participants if we record. And then I can share the link with those folks.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
I'm just trying to
Okay.
lift mine up higher here so I can see better. There we go. Yeah.
One of the things that I observe working with patients over the last 30 years, 31 years, 40 years, actually, close to it, is I just hate to admit that. It makes me sound so old. Is that we have tissue trauma. Now, we can have a case like Lisa's where, she hasn't had the knee replacement yet, but it's something that could very well be a thing for her. And she's pretty young. So, but there's tissue trauma from, disease, from some type of a disease process. Or then we have the actual knee replacement where we have more tissue trauma where, there's the cutting and the sawing and yes, it's true. It involves sawing.
Yeah.
And so, we interpret that in our brains as pain. We go, oh my gosh, I have pain. But the way our cells look at that is, oh my gosh, I've been traumatized and I have to protect me. It becomes a very important thing. Like, I'm going to protect me. Because when you get hurt, isn't that our first reaction? Whether we're, physically, emotionally, any way, we're like, no, I'm going to protect me, at least from you, right? So that creates a swelling process where our bodies start to swell because that swelling ends up being somewhat of a protection. Why? It creates this little cushion, or in some cases, a big cushion around that area. And so when it creates that big cushion around the area, we end up not being able to move the joint. We full range of motion because we have all this wad of fluid. Now that fluid isn't water. That fluid's got protein in it. It's got blood cells in it, or if it's not red blood cells, it's got white blood cells in it, which is part of your immune system. It's got, in a case of a healing process, it's got building blocks to help your body heal. But when our system gets overwhelmed and our tissues get overwhelmed with too much swelling, it actually impedes the healing. So why is that? Have you ever driven your car over your garden hose and watched the sprinkler go way down and then spink way up?
Yes.
Our blood vessels are like garden hoses. We've got this round open area of garden hose, and then we get swelling. It's like driving the car over the top, and we end up with a tiny little hole or no hole to get the fluids in and out of there. So swelling can actually cause itself to become worse because I can't move things out of my vessels very well. And we need to figure out a way to get those vessels open because we want good circulation to bring healthy new building blocks into the area. But we also want to have it be able to get out of there. So what I'm going to talk to you a lot about today is how do we get those things out of our bodies and how do we open up to improve our circulation so that we get those healing building blocks down into the area, but we also get the junk, as I call it. Actually, I call it glop. We get the glop, which is the used stuff, the dead and dying white blood cells, the tissue that isn't going to make it through this trauma and it just needs to be removed, the cells that need to just be removed, right? And so we want to create an opportunity for your body to get that stuff out of the area without traumatizing it. So take anything that resembles force and pull it out of here and throw it away. Because we're not going to force this. Fluid moves with great gentleness, right? The path of least resistance. If you go to a river and there's no resistance, it flows really easily, right? So some of the things we're going to do is just to remove resistance. And some of the things we're going to do is just to facilitate the path of least resistance so it's as open as we can get it and we have that better flow. And the better flow we have, the easier it is for our bodies to heal. Because the truth is, here's the truth, a healthcare provider doesn't really ever heal anything. A healthcare provider supports the body in healing itself because the power to heal is within you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The doctor didn't really heal your knee, the surgeon. Your knee had so much damage, it was to the point where they said, we better remove this puppy and replace it with something that's going to work. And then the tissues now are healing around that. And we're just going to support that healing because we want to maximize the use of the prosthesis within your body, right? And the integration of that prosthesis into your body. Because it's going to increase your function at this point, but we got to support that. So how are we going to do that, right? So most of what I teach people is kind of like, wow, that sounds so weird. But I do have research that supports what I teach. And I also have, 40 years of experience of things that didn't work and things that do work. Because that's what led to things that do work was trying so many things that didn't work. I was like, that doesn't work. I better try something different.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found was drink more water.
Mm.
And a lot of people, especially when you're in pain and movement is hard, you're like, what the heck? She wants me to drink more water? That means I'm going to have to get up and go to the bathroom more.
Here we go.
But when we drink more water, our body chemistry changes and we actually excrete more water. And we circulate and flush more water. And that pulls swelling out of our body and helps to remove that glop that the medical term is thixotripsy, just so you know, I know it. But glop just is such a great definition because we've all had glop in our refrigerators, I'm guessing. So we want that to be thinned out with the water and we want that to be moving through our bodies. So how much water is enough? Because we are not the same sizes, right?
I'm going to flip this. There we go.
So
There.
half your body weight in fluid ounces. So if you weigh 150, that's 75 ounces. If you weigh 180, that's 90 ounces. If you weigh 200, that's 100 ounces. I have people stop at 128 ounces, which is 1 gallon of water. Do not drink more than a gallon of water because you start flushing electrolytes out of your body at too high of a pace. Even if you do have the volume of body to sustain that, it's really makes it hard. This is actually reduces and makes it easier for your kidneys, but it also helps your body keep that fluid thin enough that you can take that thick glop that's kind of gets hard around the knee area and in the thigh where you have the swelling and gets it removed from that area. So that becomes really valuable to drink that water. Now, the other thing I do is make sure I'm getting enough electrolytes, which salt is an important one. And sea salt has trace minerals where non-sea salt does not have trace minerals. But salt can help your body also keep fluid at the right viscosity so it's not too thin and runny and so it's not too thick and gloppy. So I usually just salt all my food and it seems to work out well for me. The author that I actually got this to, which is called, the book I got this from, if you want to read the whole book, but it goes into, he tries to keep it pretty basic, but he is a physician. And he goes into some details about this, but he recommends somewhere around a half a teaspoon of salt total intake for your day. Now, if you are not drinking enough water, that is probably too much salt. If you don't have healthy kidneys, that is probably too much salt. If you have healthy kidneys and you're drinking your water every day, that much salt helps the membranes in your body function well. Typically after surgery, you're taking narcotic pain medicine, which stops your colon and your bowels from working well. That's a big problem after the surgery. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the salt actually holds water in your colon and it helps in the situation. So it also helps you excrete things out of that area as well. So it helps keep you in that balance. So it's super, it really does work, but you have to be drinking the water if you do the salt, okay? Don't do the salt and not the water, because that will cause you big problems. But when you're doing the salt in the water, that actually helps your body find balance. And again, the book is called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And mine's in a shelf over there. I'd have to run back and get it. But at least last time I checked, it had been a while, but that book, he goes into lots of explanations on how the salt and the water work with your lungs, your digestion, your blood vessels, your heart, your blood pressure. It's really quite interesting. At least it was if you're me. Maybe. I love stuff like that. Anyway, so drinking the water and the salt helps to keep that fluid moving, and it helps to keep it at a good viscosity. So it's not thick like sludge and it's not too thin like water, and it's just flowing through your body nicely. So the next thing that is really powerful and that we don't coach enough as physical therapists, in my opinion, is breathing. Now there are physical therapists who coach it a lot. I'm actually one of those. I can spend an entire hour on nothing but breathing. I can actually spend 3 hours on nothing but breathing, but we're not going to spend that much time. So why is breathing so important, and why does it affect our swelling so much? And why after a surgery, or why when we're dealing with knee pain, is this a big topic to talk about? Because anytime we're in pain, and I don't care if it's back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, whatever, we go like this. And we start breathing right up here. Oh my gosh, I have to walk. It's gonna hurt, you know, and we breathe up in our upper neck and chest, and we really use these muscles. And let me move back. And we lock our diaphragm through here. So we start doing no movement right here, right? There's just a little bit that's happening. And the diaphragm has an opening in it, in the back more than in the front, but that opening is called the hiatus. And when we contract the diaphragm, so I inhale and contract the diaphragm and push it down. And then when I relax and exhale, it comes back up. It's massaging your vessels, your blood vessels. It massages your esophagus. It massages your lymphatic vessels, which are one of your key vessels to bring that fluid back up and to get that balanced out. So when I really think about breathing with my diaphragm, right in my neck, I breathe down here, and you can see my hands expand, but you can also see, my face isn't important right now. Okay, so you can also see if I put my hands here, so I'm below my belly button's there, my hands are below, and I fill this up. So I'm just relaxing on the exhale. They're working on the HVAC thing, so that was the worker guy coming through. So as I breathe down low and I really use my diaphragm, taking that deep breath, because I've said to people, take a deep breath, and they go, and I'm like, okay, let's review a deep breath, because a deep breath, I'm talking breathing way down here. Now, if you really tap into what you're feeling when you do that deep breath, you should literally feel your muscles right here in your pelvis descend into the chair, the sofa, whatever you're sitting on. Feel that descension where it's going down, and then on the exhale, comes back up. Some people cannot feel this right away because they're just, not used to tuning into their body. But if you practice that, it will calm over time. So when I breathe down here and I do, 5, 10 of those, for some of those, I'm going to give myself what I call my own hug. So I'm going to pull my pelvis in towards itself, and then I'm going to pull my rib cage into itself. So I'm literally squeezing my abdominal cavity. So I breathe in, and then on the exhale, squeeze and get that out. Then I'm going to breathe in and squeeze and get that out, because as I create that exchange of flow, are you feeling anything happen in your legs? Because I am feeling things happen in my legs. So, so by doing that and practicing that and being aware, if you're on narcotics, it's really hard to feel that, by the way, because it is kind of subtle. So if you're taking narcotics for pain or a lot of pain medicine, you might not feel it. But to practice that periodically. So one of the times I practice it is TV commercials. If you're watching TV commercials, it's one of my favorite times, because you cannot practice this for like an hour. It's exhausting. You're like, I'm done. So you do it for 30 seconds to a minute during a TV commercial. In a minute, you can probably get at least 4 to 6 breaths in with those hugs. What you're doing by moving the fluid through here is you're lowering your pressure through your abdomen, and you're opening up vessels. So your vessels going from our Caro on the garden hose to popping open into that nice round shape, so that then we can get the fluid coming through, right? So when I get rid of fluid out of my abdomen by doing that breathing, I open up for the possibilities of my legs to allow that fluid to come out of them and come up into my body, and then travel all the way up through and get into my heart. When it gets into your heart, it's going to go back out through your blood vessels, going to get filtered through your kidneys, filtered through your liver, all those areas. So the stuff that your body can't use or can't recycle, it's going to dump that into your kidneys and out into the sewers of America. Yeah, we love that. Because if you ain't paying rent, throw its little hiney out. Right? So there's, the swelling is there because it's helpful and needed in that time of crisis and injury and trauma. But then as we're doing rehab, we want to keep that balance. And that's why, I don't know if you've read many of my posts on the total knee wall, but I'm like, oh, please don't traumatize the tissues more. Let's love them.
Yeah.
Because 40 years of practice has really taught me tissues respond better to love, and so do people. And believe me, in the beginning, that's not what we're taught really in school. So I can respect where therapists are coming from, because, we were taught some brutal stuff in school. And what I've learned in years of practice is when I can gentle the tissues, when I can work around the tissue and not right on the spot. Patients say to me all the time, you're not on the spot. I'm like, do you really want me to push where it hurts? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm above that, because what I'm doing is I'm opening up these garden hoses to pop open the orifice so that the fluid can then go through there. And then where the biggest pain is, I don't have to put a lot of pressure and a lot of hurt for you, because when you get that pain, guess what the next step is? Swelling.
Swelling.
When you get that swelling, guess what the next step is? Loss of function.
Yeah.
Dysfunctional movement and dysfunctional healing. So when you stop and say, wait a minute, how could I, this is a question I ask myself a lot, how could I accomplish a goal without causing the swelling and the trauma and then the dysfunction? And so that's what I'm sharing with you, is a lot of the things I've discovered over all of these years of looking for a better solution. I actually have a poster in my house that says innovate. If there's a better solution, find it. And I had named my business Innovative Therapy. And then I found that poster and I was like, oh, that is so my poster. Because I've spent a lot of years finding those better solutions. So, do you guys have questions on breathing or how to practice breathing? By the way, on YouTube, there are a number of different breathing videos that you might want to say, you know, sick of doing regular knee exercises, maybe I'll go practice a YouTube video and watch a video on how to do breathing. There's a lot of different ways. Some of them are very difficult. Don't start with those, by the way. They do some fabulous things for your body, but they're not good starting places. So if you listen to a video and you're like, oh, wow, it's just way too much, way too hard, go to watch a different one. There's a lot of them. So just say, I'm not ready for that video yet. Let me go to one that's a little simpler. But just doing this with your hands, breathing in and breathing out, and giving yourself those hugs. And you can do that with counts. You can count in 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, hold 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Exhale, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Hold 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. And then continue that cycle. So you can get a timer on your cell phone and just time that during TV commercials. Or let's say you're more of a book fan. At the end of a chapter of a book, you say, I'm going to do this for a minute. And go back to your book. So that you're planning this in your day. And if you're drinking that much water, you know, the next chapter, you're going to have to use the restroom. Great. And the next chapter, you're going to have to refill your water bottle. But the movement in going to fill your water bottle, the movement in going to the restroom, the movement in doing this breathing is all going to be supportive of your healing process. Okay. So any questions on breathing?
No, I've done Pilates, so I get that.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The more movement you've done even before a knee replacement and the more you've learned about your body, usually the easier the rehab process is. At least that's what I've observed with people. I had one lady and she was just like, well, somebody else should just do this for me. And I said, it's not possible. I mean, I can't strengthen my muscle and then give you the strength. You have to strengthen your muscle. You have to choose to do the breathing and keep the fluids moving in your body. I can be your cheerleader. I can, you know, give you some feedback, but you still have to do the work because I can't do it and give it to you. It's just not, it's not in the realms of possibilities. So, you know, she wasn't very happy with that and went to another therapist, but I was like, no other therapist is going to be able to give it to you either. So I hope she found a solution. Because I was like, you know, I'm not asking you to beat yourself up. I'm just asking you to do some kind of basic movements and to get some strength going. And, you know, and I'd worked with her a lot before that, even trying to get the swelling out. So, I mean, it does take effort on your part and it's, you know, and it's going to be some work. But if you do the work in the right sequence, like maybe I need to breathe for 5 minutes or 3 minutes before I do my exercises and then see if my exercises are a little easier after doing that breathing. Or maybe I need to say, hey, can we take a 3-minute breathe break and do your breathing so that you can help that circulation going through your leg. And so that you don't have to just feel like, okay, I gotta go, 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 go. And my knee's going, I have to have some exchange of fluid here. I'm getting jammed up. So that I'm allowing those exchanges to take place. So the third thing I want to talk about is manually stimulating your lymphatic system. And I don't know if you guys saw the video. I did a video, keeps getting taken off that knee wall, the total knee replacement wall. And I put it back, somebody gets taken off. And I don't know why, but I guess the administrators don't like it. I'm not sure. But it gives a little bit of detail on how to work on your own system manually. So that manually means with your hands. And to stimulate your vessels to actually bring the fluid back up from your leg. And you can do this for any area or body part. And I'm gonna scoot back so you can see more of my body. Okay, I'm my name tag so I don't jam it into my body. All right, so the first thing you wanna do is find your collarbones. Then you're gonna slide your fingers gently, very gently, above the collarbones until you find there's like a little soft place right above the collarbone. And it's softer than the other places. Like if you're feeling around up there, you're like, oh yeah, this place is softer than the other places.
Right there.
It looks like you found it. Give me a nod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that spot, you're going to do a gentle depression. And then you're going to do a gentle release. You're going to do a gentle depression. And then you're going to do a release. Now this, you're going to keep going with that while I talk. This is the end of your lymphatic system. This is where your lymphatic system dumps its fluid into the blood vessels. So I'm not going fast and I'm not going hard. If you look at, I'm trying to give you good lighting. You notice how it's not red? I'm not digging, I'm not pressing hard. It should not hurt. It should be, I can feel the depression and I feel the release, but my skin is not turning, red or getting irritated. I'm not annoying it, so it's gentle. And I'm using the padded parts of my fingers, not the ends of them where I have fingernails or where it's like bony and pushing in. I'm using the padded parts of my fingers to do those pushes. And I'm going to do some breaths while I'm doing that. And I'll do as many as, I don't know, the truth is I rarely count. But I might do 10 to 15 of those little pushes as I open up those vessels. Okay, so what are you guys feeling?
Nothing.
Nothing?
You mean like a change?
Yeah, well, and again, keep in mind I do this because I teach this, but I can feel like pressures in my head kind of change, but I've been having a lot of allergies lately. So when I'm doing this, I'm also pulling fluid down from my head as well as up from my body. So I'm feeling pressure in my head change from allergy.
Yeah. And I'm almost feeling like in my knee, like a release of something in my knee.
Yeah, and this is not uncommon, by the way. I had one lady say to me, she's like, do you feel the flow? And I said, I do, in her body. And she's like, I knew you did. I just wanted to see if you tell me the truth. And I said, yeah, I've done this long enough. I can palpate the pulse of the fluid that I'm working on in my body or somebody else's. I don't expect you to feel that. It took me a while to be able to feel that. but to kind of feel like, you know, I can feel this pressure coming down in my head. And I'm actually, because I had surgery 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, my foot, and I'm feeling slightly less pressure in that foot.
Yeah.
Which it was feeling quite a bit of pressure this morning because I ran around on it a lot. And it was like, okay, you need to give me some attention down here. So now that's place one, is right here at the collarbone. Then I'm going to go, here's my rib cage. I'm going to go above with this part of my hand, right above my belly button. I'm going to roll up towards this area where I just worked. So I'm using firm but not hard pressure. This should not be painful. Not a lot of swelling. It can be a little uncomfortable because you're like, ew, yeah, that's really tight. If you're feeling like, ew, yeah, I can feel there's like a ball in there, go lighter. Because the tendency is when I feel the ball, I want to squish it. No, if you use lighter pressure and just do it a few more reps, you're actually going to get better results. Now, when I come here, I'm feeling even more fluid moving in my leg. And more in the leg where I had the trauma than I feel in the leg that didn't have any trauma. But this is going to work on both legs on both sides. I'm using that pressure and I'm just rolling up, and again, 10, 15 times. I don't usually count, but when it gets softer and more easily compressed is when I'm doing that. Okay, and my body is saying stop and do a couple of deep breaths. So I don't know if your body's saying that, but you can stop and you can either keep doing it or do a few deep breaths. Okay, so how's everybody doing? Thumbs up?
Good.
Thumbs up.
Okay, and Anne, how about you? Thumbs up?
Good, good.
That's why I was like, I had several people last night and this morning say, I can't come because whatever happened, they all have their thing. And I was like, well, I'll record it, but at least I can see you guys and go, how are you feeling? Because some people, especially if they have a lot of congestion and a lot of back pressure in their body with a lot of swelling, can get a little lightheaded with this. If that happens, you just stop for a second, either do a few deep breaths or say, you know what, my body's moving fluid. I'm just going to let it move for a while. Later, you can come back and do some more. But right now, since we have an hour to learn this, so we've got the line at the top of the thigh, right, where our thigh joins our body. Right in this area of the thigh, this inner thigh, there is a pile of lymph nodes. They're not really in a pile, but you got a bunch of them. So this is a very good place to stimulate. So again, we're going to go back to the belly button, and now instead of being in a straight up line, we've got to do kind of an inverted Y, an upside down Y. So I've got a leg, an arm of the Y coming down into each thigh, right? So if I go to the leg where I had surgery and I put my hand kind of just barely above that line, and I'm going to sink and roll towards my belly button. Sink and roll towards my belly button. So I'm stimulating those lymph nodes to help them move fluid up into my circulation. This will, by the way, make you need to go to the bathroom. It's a good thing because it ain't paying rent, so it needs to go out. So I'm just saying, it's the truth, right? So we're gonna, because people say to me all the time, they're like, man, I just have to go to the bathroom so much and it smelled so weird. Well, that's because you're getting rid of toxins don't need to be in your body. So again, we're using this part of the hand, the flat part with the knuckles right here. We're not using fingertips. We don't dig ever on our bodies, okay? So we're gonna lift that up and we're gonna do that again 10 to 15 times. Now, here's one of the cool things about the body. It loves symmetry. Loves symmetry. It wants the left side to match the right side. And right now you don't match very well probably, right? So if doing the notes above the leg that has the surgery is uncomfortable, and it can be because those nodes can be really swollen, closer to surgery like Ann is, you can do the opposite side. And when you do the opposite side, this side will start, your surgery side, your impaired side will start to move better.
Is that where the tourniquet was?
They put the tourniquet on the leg where you had surgery. And
I mean, up there at the very top?
they usually put it maybe mid-thigh, like right in here, but it depends on your surgeon and where he likes it.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to vary per person's surgery because it depends on what approach he's using surgically to do the knee, what prosthesis he's using. There's a lot of variables in that one.
Okay.
So I'm going to roll on this side if I'm too sore on my surgery side. And this is my non-surgery side, and it is more pliable and easier to sink on than the side I had surgery.
Okay.
And my surgery was not as big as a total knee replacement. I'm going to tell you that too. So, but I can also feel just the difference. So I imagine with a bigger surgery of total knee replacement, you can work on that non-surgery side and just do those roll up toward your belly button. So it's a little of a diagonal, and I start at the bottom and do that roll up. Oh yeah, that was interesting because I did get softer over here. And it's true, I was laying in bed thinking, I need to know this after surgery because it's really painful. All right, so now I'm gonna use what I call grand hands, which is big hands, right, grand? So I'm going to place them on my thigh and I'm just going to gently, I'm lifting, you can see my skin here in my pants. I'm lifting and just kind of stroking. So I'm not digging into muscles. Do not dig into the muscle. This is a very gentle lifting and easing. Think about I'm moving water on, on a countertop. I take it and swoosh it really hard because then I have water on the other side of the kitchen, right? Because I spilled the glass of water. So I'm just going to gently slide it into that line at the top of my thigh. Because this is where I have the most lymph nodes in my thigh, all collected in one place, is on that inner thigh. So I just want to stroke it up. And notice what you're feeling in your knee and down even into your leg and foot as you do that. So I might do 10 or 15 of those. Now you do have lymph in any tissue of your body that has a blood supply, you have lymph. You just might not have a lot of lymph nodes. So we want to stimulate the lymph flow or that fluid movement. So even on the outside of my leg, I'm going to bring that around and into that inguinal, it's called the inguinal line where your thigh attaches to your torso. And this is a G-rated family video, so I want to make sure that I'm using anatomically correct words. So that should somebody's child or grandchild be watching in the background.
That actually feels really good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And notice how your knee's feeling as you do this.
Yeah.
Or when you hit a sore place, hopefully if, but it's usually when after a major surgery, is go lighter. And remember the story I was telling you about patients who say you're not on the spot? And I'd be like, no, if the spot's here, I'm going to start rubbing above the spot. So you can't even see where I am above the spot. If I move away the spot, then you can see I'm not going to the spot, I'm above it. So if you have a really hard area of tissue someplace, go above that. So let's say you have the hard area here, go above that.
Love it.
Just
Okay.
rub above it because you want to help your body remove the swelling that's causing it to be so hard. And if you're drinking that water and getting a good water exchange in your body wants balance. It wants to be whole. It wants to be healed. So it's going to work with you when you're doing this. Okay, so now we're going to go above the kneecap. So I make my fingers a little wider. That's what I think of them. And I'm using the padded parts, not the tips with the nails. I'm using the padded parts above the kneecap. And I'm just stretching that skin. Now, if you've got a lot of swelling, it's not going to stretch very far, right? Because it's going to keep it from moving much. But if you don't have a lot of swelling, that skin, you should feel the skin have, an inch to 2 inches of stretch. And again, I don't have a lot of swelling in my knee. You may because you're not that far post-op, but you're going to stretch what your body allows. Meaning, I don't go to pain. I don't go to hurt. I might go to, ooh, that feels good. I can feel that. I'm not digging into the tissue. I'm just sliding my skin towards my pelvis, towards my inguinal ligament right here. I'm stretching that upwards towards that area, what my body allows. Force is not part of this exercise or this activity at all. So I can do a stretch and I go, oh yeah, that's a good stretch. And then I just kind of release it. Does that make sense? When I'm just, oh yeah, that's a good stretch. So when you start doing this and you're doing that stretch, it might be, I've had patients where they can't even see it. I can feel that there's a little stretch, but they can barely see it. But if I go more, I know I'm going to hurt them. And remember, we go pain, swelling, dysfunction, and we're staying out of that cycle. So we're going to do this real gentle movement just to bring that up. Okay, so how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good? No questions, no problems? Okay. I've explained this to a lot of people over the years, so I'm reasonably adept at explaining it. I haven't explained it to a lot of people on Zoom, so that's why I'm like rearranging here, because I'm like, how am I going to explain this next thing so you can see it on Zoom? Okay, so I have a bench here. So it looks like Anne is in a recliner. I'm not sure what Roxanne is in.
I'm on a couch, but I'm going to move.
Okay, so I'm putting my heel up here primarily so you can see me, but this is a much easier thing to do with your knees somewhat bent. So I say somewhat because we are all going to have different amounts we can bend your knees, right? And I don't have a myometer and you're not here, so I can't measure this. So you're going to have to kind of go, does it feel better? Does it feel better here? You have to figure that out. The rule, you guys going to tell me the rule? We're going to avoid having pain.
Avoid having pain.
We can have, ooh, I can feel that. We can have, ooh, that's a good stretch, but we're not going to go to pain, right? But what we want, the reason we want our knee bent is that if you find your knee, on each side, there's two kind of cordy things. They're actually ligaments. We're going to gently kind of roll our hands inside those two cordy ligament things, which are ligaments, or they're actually tendons. So we're sliding in, and now I'm going to do what I call a scoop. So my hands are like this inside those ligaments, but you can't see if I do it back there. And I'm going to scoop. Scoop. So I'm not digging. I am just scooping those tissues and stretching my skin on top of the skin underneath. So it should feel very gentle,
Mhm.
good. If it doesn't feel good, go lighter. If the tissue isn't moving well, go lighter. Our tendency is not doing it right. We want to push. I promise you, I've been doing lymphatic work and swelling control for more than 20 years now. Lighter is better. Listening to the feedback from your body is better. So don't get too gung-ho, okay? And be like, oh, if I dig on it, it'll be better. No, it's not, I promise you. Because we want to stay out of pain, swelling, dysfunction. We want to stay in ease and the grace of movement. Think about water moving. Think about, you know, those Olympic dancer people flowing and being so graceful in pulling that, in working through the water.
Dan, I can't hear.
Okay, so now I'm starting to get into my calf muscle, because calf muscles, I hear a lot about calf muscles with with people who have knee problems. So now I'm just kind of going into the calf, and I'm noticing the texture of it. You know, like, okay, you guys have all made mashed potatoes. You all look like you're awesome mashed potato makers. Or bread dough makers or something, but you know how important that texture is, right? And you notice the texture of that. So I want you to notice the texture of your calf muscle, probably something you've never noticed before in your life. But the texture is super important, and it's not a texture we're gonna beat the heck out of. It's a texture we're gonna say, well, there's some tightness down there, yeah. Just doing those little gentle scoops. And where I feel the hardness, what do?
Soft.
Go softer. Yes, good. So when I feel the tightness, I'm going to go softer and gentler. And I might go above that area too to see, do I need to stimulate some of the areas above that tightness to open that up and to allow the vessels and the fluid to move above it, because maybe right where the hardness is needs a vessel further up my leg that needs to be opened. So I'm literally taking several hundred hours of training that I've had and condensing it for you into an hour. So
It's so nice of you.
Oh, yes, we
So-
appreciate it.
always err on the side of being gentle, okay? So you can even get, if you can reach that far, depending on how well your hips move, is you can get clear down into the ankle bone and those little bumps on the outside of your ankle bone, and you can work around them. So did you notice I got to my ankle bone and I start coming back up? That's what I call rinsing. So on the way down, my movements are always up. When I'm moving my fingers back down, I call that zero pressure. So I'm stretching up, zero pressure, stretching up. So I remain in contact with my tissue, but I'm not putting any pressure when I go down. So when I'm coming up, I'm putting that stretch on the skin and a little stretch on the muscle to bring it up. This is not at all like a deep muscle massage. Oh, sorry. I should have turned my phone off. Okay. Get all the way down. Then I'm going to start coming back up because I want to rinse. So I've opened things up and things have started to flow, right? So now you're like, wow, yeah, I can even feel my toe going, woohoo. So now I'm going to come back up my leg. And yes, I have a compression sock on because I have a blood clotting disorder, so I wear compression socks too. make sure my blood doesn't clot when it's not supposed to. Okay, so then I'm gonna come in behind my knee, and I'm gonna do some of those same strokes that I did on the way down, but now instead of working down, I'm working up. And then I'm gonna come back into my groin. I'm gonna do my inverted Y leg. Then I'm gonna come above my belly button and do my, let me get back into the camera angle. The things you didn't learn in life and now you have to, thanks to COVID. And lighting. I do some stretches there, and then I'm going to come up here and do just a few of these. And what I'm noticing up here, well, what are you guys noticing when you come back up here and touch this?
Fluid there.
What's that?
It feels like there's more fluid there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like kind of softer and more like,
Uh-huh.
that's because you've been moving all this fluid, so you want to just stimulate that and keep that fluid moving through your body. And then you can even end with a few deep breaths way down here. So I'm really expanding my belly and doing my best to let my shoulders be as quiet as possible because I want to work that diaphragm and really stimulate that fluid exchange. So right now, how does your knee feel compared to when we started?
Mine feels more relaxed.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share? Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it definitely feels more, and I'm getting a little bit more bend in it.
Yeah, and we didn't have to beat you up to get the more bend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I've taken people in my clinic and gotten 40 degrees more range of motion in one session doing this. Now, again, this person had really congested lymphatics when I started with her and had been, and before a lot of force had been used with her knee. But, you know, just doing the relaxation, I had her breathe the whole time I was working on her legs. And you know, I do have a lot of training in this, so I'm able to get super specific and down into the tissues really, really specifically. But when you're less specific, it just takes more repetitions and more time. You will still have the improvement. So next week on Wednesday morning at 10, I'm going to do some movement activities. If you guys are interested in coming back and doing some movement activities, different paradigm than what you're getting in any therapy that you're doing. I know this because I created this system. So I know that other people really aren't doing this. Yeah, because I haven't put it out there for other therapists. I have been doing it, working on it, developing it for the last 8 years. And so it's a different concept of exercise. It's about bringing balance into the body from the inside out. And so this is, it's actually, people are like, how does that work? And so if you want to come back and join in this next week, send me, I think I've communicated with you all on private message, so you should be able to send me a link back in order to, you know, come in and do those activities and see what that is like to further improve your body's balance and your brain's awareness of the leg. Because when they cut out a joint, they're actually cutting out nerve endings. So to teach other areas of your body to compensate and to reconnect in different ways to that area so that you have a higher functioning total body system is more the opportunity. So yeah, just send me a private message and I will get links over for you if you are interested in that. Oh no, somebody's getting on right now. It's terrible. I think she got the times confused.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have to see my surgeon next week at 10. How do I access your recorded session?
So, well, just like some people wanted to come to this today and they could not because of doctors and other appointments, I got you all's permission to record. So I will very likely record that. I may ask somebody that I'm working with this afternoon on a one-on-one session if they would be okay with me recording our session so that I could share that with other people as well. So that people can experience, you know, that they can try some of this on their, you know, on their own if they can't make it to one of the times that I can offer it.
Okay.
Okay, hi, Jan. Can you unmute yourself? So go down to the bottom
Okay.
left. There you
I
go.
got it. Here I go.
So I actually, okay, so this started an hour ago, Deanne, but we recorded it. In fact, I'm just turning the recording off now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm Pacific time. I thought you were Central.
I am Central, but Pacific,
That's an hour ahead of me.
we're 2 hours ahead of you.
Okay, next time.